House Speaker Mike Tiny Johnson kicked off his weekend by facing down an angry mob of Republicans, coming after him with torches and pitchforks. If the Speaker hasn't updated his resume, now would be the time. He'll be out of a job very soon. I'm David Reddish. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. And to keep you updated on this and all other breaking stories in American politics, please subscribe now to our channel. It's subscriber drive, so we need to pick up as many new viewers as we can to keep our lights on. Besides, it's Friday. Help a journalist out here. But let's dispense with that. On to our story. House Speaker Mike Johnson is having a week from hell. Well, actually, it's more like a month from hell at this point. Apart from getting constant dire news about Democrats retaking the House next fall, see our other videos for more on that, even members of his own caucus have begun to publicly denounce him. Do you remember this little appearance by Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View?
Practically, I yelled at Mike Johnson last week on our GOP conference call. By the way, I'm missing the call today. It's going on right now. And I hope that Mike Johnson is finally giving a single health care policy because the country deserves it, and it shouldn't be a secret. And I shouldn't have to go into a skiff to go find our Republican health insurance plan.
Maybe
Honestly,
there is no plan.
You know what? You want to know something? That, I believe, is the truth. There's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of bills, but there's no consensus.
Yeah.
And I think that's a failure. I do.
Well, I want.
And kids, that's just the warm-up. Stay with me here. None of this says anything about Johnson losing on the Epstein discharge petition or the ongoing battle over healthcare subsidies, the defense spending bill, or any other number of high-profile defeats for Mike Johnson. No wonder he keeps getting lost by hiding in a closet. Mr. Speaker, if you're watching and you're feeling a little lost, just remember, if you see a hot water heater, you're in the utility closet. If you see sheets, you're in the linen closet. And if you see Lindsey Graham, just don't be surprised. But again, I digress. Back to the angry mob. Last night, MS Now ran a bombshell report revealing that there is open revolt among Republican women against Johnson, while the broader caucus is officially gunning for Johnson's job. Some see it as a last-ditch effort to prevent a midterm blowout, while others are just tired of his impotent leadership. Speaking earlier on MS Now, congressional analyst Michael Schnell revealed that Mike Flaccid Johnson's days in leadership are numbered. Bigly. Now, this is an extremely long clip, but make sure to watch the whole thing to understand the powers at work here. Take a look.
Yeah, and let's also just break it down just so folks realize, like, the trend, because as we always say, 3 is a trend, and that's sort of where you start to get the pattern. There was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was very clear in her criticism of the Speaker. There was Elise Stefanik, who, by the way, is a member of leadership. That was striking.
It's so crazy.
Of course, worth noting, she's running for New York governor, so, you know, maybe wants some more attention there and some coverage, but she had gone after the Speaker about a provision in the annual defense bill. She ended up getting it, then she held off. And then there's been Nancy Mace, who basically wrote an op-ed this week, and she was like, Nancy Pelosi is the most effective speaker than any Republican speaker. She did say that Mike Johnson is better than his predecessor, Kevin McCarthy. Though, again, worth noting, Nancy Mace was one of those folks who had voted to oust Kevin McCarthy. Not exactly a high bar. But, yeah, I mean, you know, the Republican women seem to be the ones who, in this environment where it is so important to Republicans to remain in line and not criticize the president, not criticize your leadership, especially in a moment of this united government where Republicans had all these lofty goals, we're seeing the women be the ones who are willing to step out of line and sort of voice their criticisms. And by the way, in the case of Marjorie Taylor Greene, something that I think a lot of the base had agreed with, a lot of the things that she had been speaking out about those issues were very much so aligned with the MAGA base and the America First base. It's this fascinating dynamic. And as you mentioned, it is the Republican women who are sort of rising to the surface.
Yeah, I mean, I've also been tracking the idea of, like, women being the ones to hold Trump accountable over the years as well. It was true for Liz Cheney, for Cassidy Hutchinson, if we want to reach back to the January 6th committee. And then, of course, there are now these new crop of members who, even from within the tent, the MAGA tent, Nancy Mace certainly running with the MAGA imprimatur in that South Carolina governor's race. I mean, these are not people who are trying to stick it to the president by going after their own leadership. But there is certainly something brewing as they head into the midterms. And part of me wonders, while we're talking about Republicans feeling like, what did we do with our majority? If it's finally now coming home to roost, that something we talk about privately a lot, what is the Republican plan on something as big as health care? I mean, that is now very much in the spotlight as they're putting forward these counter proposals that aren't really fully baked.
Yeah, and I will note one quick thing as we talk about sort of the midterms. I mean, Republicans were always behind the 8 ball well in this cycle because historically the party in power usually does lose control of Congress during the president's first midterms, essentially the first referendum on the White House. So it wouldn't be shocking. But still, Republicans and the majority party are always trying to stave off those losses. But to get to your point, I mean, healthcare has been such an issue. Affordability has been such an issue that we've seen in every poll we saw in 2024 elections. It was just yesterday that Republicans came out with their counter proposal that they're now going to vote on, despite the fact that this vote for Democrats was set about a month ago. Not to mention the whole point of reopening the government was to engage in these conversations to come up with a healthcare compromise. And we are still sort of at this point where they're proposing their own plans. They're both going to fail, and we're going to be still in square one with these subsidies about to expire. I mean, it's a real quandary that sort of Republicans are finding themselves in right now, and it doesn't seem like it's going to get figured out.
Yeah, and I wrote about this in the Morning Joe newsletter, The T. If you guys aren't subscribing, please do, about the idea that this is a week where we'll watch Congress show what they can do, which is ask questions of the administration on national security issues, but also what they refuse to do, which is anything cohesive and bipartisan on health care, leaving the American public sort of in the lurch on cost.
So there it is. And it all boils down to something basic. Mike Has-No Johnson isn't a leader. He's affixed his lips firmly to Donald Trump's cottage cheese-looking buttocks without developing inroads with his caucus, forging deals and alliances, or having any true agenda of his own. Those are all vital for a speaker to be successful. Thus, Flaccid Johnson will soon be out of a job one way or another, which again presents an opportunity for Democrats. Present a new agenda now, one focusing on reducing healthcare and living costs, expanding projects like green energy that lower the cost of living, and working for voters, you know, the people that elected them. As for Johnson, well, there's always OnlyFans. Stick one of those pitchforks in him, folks. He's done. This is Occupy Democrats.